You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.
Welcome to the Make Meaning Podcast. I'm Lynn Galadner, and I've dedicated my life to sharing stories of how people make meaning in their work and find purpose in their lives. On this podcast, we're going to talk about some of the great ideas and activities people do every day to make the world a better place and provide inspiration for others. So much of the meaning we find comes from interacting with great people, developing relationships that are mutually beneficial, and doing work that inspires everyone. I hope you'll be inspired by the people you meet here. We all need to find a way to make meaning in the mundane. Welcome back to the Make Meaning Podcast. With me today is Reverend Faith Fowler, who is both the pastor of Cass Community United Methodist Church and the executive director of Cass Community Social Services, a nonprofit agency that provides food, housing, medical, mental health, and employment programs for people living in areas of concentrated poverty. She has held these positions since 1994. Welcome to the Make Meaning Podcast, Reverend Fowler.
Thanks for having me, Lynn. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you. I'm so inspired by all of your work, and I wonder if you could begin by sharing with our listeners a little bit about what Cass Community Social Services is all about.
Sure. So Cass began as a part of the Cass Methodist Church in what was the Cass Corridor, is now referred to as Midtown. Mm-hmm. It began doing ministries, if you will, during the Great Depression with a soup kitchen that has never stopped. It actually exhausted its only endowment account to begin the soup kitchen.
Oh, wow.
And over the years, we've been feeding every single day since then. We currently produce 700,000 meals a year, so a lot of food.
Oh, that's impressive. That's amazing.
Well, a lot of really good people help us get it accomplished. And then over time, the church and then ultimately the nonprofit began other programs for people who were poor and or homeless, folks who were being left behind in a variety of ways.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for that. I really appreciate it. So I wanted to ask you about something that you had said in the pre-interview. You talked about how you admire people who devote their lives to advancing justice. And I love that concept. And I wanted to know, in your vision, especially in this day and age, what does justice look like to you? How do we define what justice really is?
So sort of the tagline of Cass is fighting poverty, creating opportunity, building community. And that creating opportunity ties into justice for me rather neatly, that everybody may have different skills and abilities and interests, but everybody should have the same opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. To succeed, to have a quality life, to have dignity and respect, to make a difference. And that, I don't know, it's part and parcel of justice. When I think of the big issues that are looming over us today, it's the income inequality and asset inequality and mass incarceration. I could go on, but all of them really at the basic level are about human dignity and human opportunity.
Sure, absolutely. And so tell me a little bit about what inspired your calling to this work. I'd like to hear a little bit about your journey.
I heard it was good pay.
And a good sense of humor. I love it.
Yeah. So growing up, I never met a woman minister. I never heard a woman preach. So it's really a bit of a mystery how it all came together. I felt called in junior high school. I went to see our youth pastor at that time and told him I was feeling called to ministry, and he told me I was wrong. and so yeah, there you have it. So I never mentioned it again until after I was done with college. Quite frankly, I thought, well, if the minister knows I'm wrong, right? And a lot of people have said, do you think that's because you were a girl or a woman? I don't. I think I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt. I was a fairly introverted kid, and he probably thought, you don't have what it takes to be speaking or interacting with people all the time. And I continue to be introverted. People are sometimes surprised by that, but I'm quite content at home with a book and a fire and a dog,
Yeah, I can relate to that. Definitely.
It's just the job calls things out of you that don't come naturally, and there you have it.
Sure.
So finished college, wanted to go to seminary, didn't have any money to go to seminary, worked at both Methodist Children's Village with abused kids and a small suburban church. and the pastor went on vacation and asked me to preach, and the rest, as they say, is history. I loved it. I invited my parents to come here, and I just knew it was meant to be. So after a couple of years, I went out to Boston for school, and I've been in Detroit ever since.
Wonderful. So what do you love most about what you do? I'd love to hear just some of the high points of your work.
Well, in terms of being a minister, I love being there at those milestone moments in people's lives and family lives and individual lives, when a baby is born, when a baby is baptized, when a couple decides to get married, when somebody gets a new job, somebody gets a new house, somebody gets a new beginning, even at the moment of death. And I wasn't sure I'd like that so much, but I do. It's such a high honor to be included as people are making the transition, that it really is a special, sacred moment.
It is.
So in terms of ministry, that's what I like, the wide scope and the invitation into those intimate moments where people aren't worried about things that don't matter. They're only concerned about ultimate things.
Sure.
In terms of the nonprofit work, I'm always excited if we can solve a problem for somebody that ultimately can solve it for many people at the same time, or at least to be able to use the same sort of solution.
Yeah.
So that's what excites me most there.
It's interesting, you say in those intimate moments when, it's only the big things that matter. It's not the superficial or the temporary things. And one of the things that I've spent a lot of my life pondering, writing about, putting out there in the world is how people find meaning in the everyday. And so I wonder what you might say to our listeners about how they find their purpose or make meaning in what are basically all of us very ordinary lives. How do we find that meaning in the moments? What advice would you have for our listeners?
So I'm an ordained person. I'm always going to have an answer like trying to figure out what God wants you to do with your life, to do with your resources, your time, your intellect, your emotions, your personality. And I think more often than not, God works in the ordinary. You wrote the book about sacred bread. Well, what's more ordinary than bread, right? And that's exactly where we find the divine. And So I think if you're waiting for a burning bush or a rainbow in the sky or the Red Sea to part, you may go your whole life and never have that experience. And yet, I don't know, a sunrise, a sunset, Niagara Falls. A lot of it for me is in nature, which is funny because I spend most of my life surrounded by concrete. So when I can get to an open sky where I can actually see the stars, and I'm reminded that life is so much bigger than me, that God has such grander purposes than my everyday, calendar. And so that's what I try and do. I try and escape for a moment here and there to be grounded in what's divine, what's bigger than me.
Yeah.
More important than me.
That's beautiful. It's interesting, as a business owner, and I've worked for myself for 20 years, which is great and scary at the same time. And I remember somebody said to me once, you just do the work in front of you and the rest will take care of itself. Because if you worry about, will there be work down the road, you're getting too far away from what is and what is real. And if you just take care of what's right in front of you, there will always be something to take care of, which I think is really true. And so you just have to put your nose to the grindstone and do what you can to make a difference. Absolutely.
Right.
So I want to talk with you a little bit about your publishing. So I know that you founded Cass Community Publishing House in 2014, and I'd like to hear a little bit about this sort of endeavor into publishing, what you've written or published or both, and sort of what that experience is like for you.
Well, a mutual friend, David Crum, approached me and said, how about starting a publishing house? And I told him no. That I was busy enough, thank you very much. And then he reframed it and said, there are 5 or 6 major publishing houses in the United States, and most of them, most people don't have access to. And yet there are so many wonderful voices out there that need a microphone or a megaphone or some sort of phone so that people will hear the less known stories.
Uh-huh.
Not less important, but less known. And
Sure.
then I thought, well, that sort of fits into who we are at Cass.
Sure.
There are clearly women writers, minority writers, foreign-born writers, incarcerated writers. There are people with stories that often just never get told and never get heard, and perhaps we could do that.
Sure,
and then
sure.
I thought to myself, I know absolutely nothing about publishing. So how could we start a publishing house and have the leader ignorant, So I said to David, well, let me write a book and see if I can understand the process. And that's really what started it. I did a book of very short stories on 20 years at Cass.
Okay.
That told about the people and the programs and sort of the evolution of things. And in that process, I understood more about fonts and, cover design and all the different types of editing and processing and packaging and shipping and all that stuff.
Sure.
And so since then, we've put out 7 books.
Oh, wow.
Two of them are mine, and the rest are other people who I think have some incredible stories to tell. I've got 5 books in the queue. I just can't get done yet, edited yet, but they're there. So more are on the way.
That's amazing.
And since 2014, I think the last report I got said we've sold 16,000 books. So
well done. That's fantastic.
So it is working. Obviously, we could sell a lot more, but it's working, and we feel pretty good about it. And then that funding stream allows us to do some of the work we do in Detroit. Nice.
That's wonderful. Well done on that. So one of your books is called Tiny Homes in a Big City. Is that right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tell me about that. I want to understand the tiny home trend here. I don't know much about it.
Okay. So I've been at Cass 24 years, which my mother says should be calculated in dog years, so it's much longer. And over time, we have a great staff and wonderful volunteers who do Herculean work in terms of helping people who are homeless get situated, get on medication if they need it, get off drugs if they need it, get mental health, find a job, find an apartment, get a car, back with their family, all those good things.
Sure.
But it's almost like creating a boomerang in that folks will do better for a while.
Okay.
And then they would come back. 6 months, a year, 2 years, it varies, but almost invariably they come back. And that is because they hit some sort of crisis in their life. Their car breaks down, they can't get to work, they lose their job.
Okay.
They get sick, they can't afford the medicine, they lose days, they lose their job.
Sure.
Their hours get cut, they can't afford the utilities, they lose their house. I mean, it's predictable stuff, and yet I didn't have a way to solve it.
Yeah.
And so then when my mom died, I got a house. Didn't need a house, but I got a house.
Huh.
And I thought for the first time in my life, that's the difference between middle-class people and poor people in the United States.
Absolutely.
And that is, we have assets that help us do better and to survive whatever crisis comes our way.
Sure.
If you're poor, you may have an income, but you don't have any safety net financially.
Right.
So I began looking for a way to help them obtain a safety net, and tiny homes came along. It was just a natural.
Sure.
So the program, in short, is for 7 years they rent the home. They pay $1 a square foot, so between $250 and $400 a month.
Okay.
They participate in a program of home ownership and financial coaching and volunteering once a month for all 7 years.
Okay.
And if they stay and they're compliant, then we give them the home.
Okay.
So If you moved in and you used to be homeless, you moved in with everything you own in a garbage bag. And in 7 years, you own a home that's worth $40,000 or $50,000.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. So just changes the trajectory of their whole lives.
Yeah.
We've built 13. We have 6 more under construction right now.
Wow.
The plan is to build 25 for individuals and couples, and then to build some for families, and then to build out the commercial strip.
Beautiful.
And we've had response from all over the world, probably because social media just went crazy on it. In 6 months last year, we had 75 million views.
That's amazing. Congratulations.
Yeah. So well, you think it's a great story, but we've heard from everywhere. We've heard from Italy, Germany, the UK, Australia, Canada, Mexico, Peru, Bangladesh. I mean, it's not the American dream. It's the human dream.
Yes. Yeah.
To have not only a roof, but to have economic mobility.
Yes.
And so that's why it's been crazy successful, and why the critics have come out of the woodwork. And really, the book had 2 purposes. One was to answer the critics who really didn't know what the program was about, because half the videos out there about it aren't accurate.
Okay.
But people attacked us for doing it in Detroit, doing it with poor people, doing it with homeless people. They predicted they'd be crack houses and, all kinds of nonsense.
My goodness.
And they didn't even understand the program. So I wanted to explain it. The other thing is that people all over the United States especially wanted to replicate it. And so we wanted to put in enough information for them to figure out whether it would work in their town or their city.
Sure.
And so people have been coming from all over to see them and to figure out if it is a good match for their location.
Beautiful. That's really wonderful. It's really, you're right about that, because I remember when the economy tanked and I actually was becoming a single mother of 3 young children. And I remember thinking, my house was upside down. I was self-employed. Yeah. It was not, kind of a perfect storm. And I sort of had a conversation with myself and said, okay, what is the worst thing that happens? So if I lose my house, if I have absolutely no business and I lose my house, I move in with my parents. Now, I was 37 and I had 3 young children. That was not my dream, but it wasn't on the street. So there was that safety net. So that if the worst happened, I still had a roof over my head. And,
absolutely,
if I couldn't afford food, my parents would provide it until I could. And thank God I didn't get there, but it helped talk me off the ledge, because I knew that the worst wasn't the worst. And so you're absolutely right about that difference. That safety net is so important, and something that we as a collective humanity need to think about, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear you went through it, but it helped you have empathy for it anyway.
Absolutely. And it made me really value that safety net and how precious it is. So,
and thank God you got good parents.
Thank God. I'll make sure they hear this episode for sure. Anyway, there's so many questions I want to ask you, but we are running out of time, and I would be remiss if I didn't spend a minute or two on your incredible feat of running the Boston Marathon. So I have to hear a little bit about that. I mean, you've done so many amazing things. And then I noticed in your bio, you've finished not 1, not 2, but several Boston Marathons. And I thought, oh my goodness, what can't this woman do? So tell me what that experience was like.
It's not as glamorous as you think. First of all, in Boston, you can run behind the pack without qualifying, which is what I did every time.
Okay.
I don't have time to go qualify for anything, but I have finished it.
Great.
The first time, and I went to school in Boston, so I watched it for all 3 years while I was there and admired everybody who ran, but I'm not athletic, and I wasn't inspired to do it necessarily. In my first church on the west side of Detroit, I was going to start what's called the Disciple Bible Study, which is a fairly intense look at the Bible. You read it every day, then you come together as a group once a week, and so by the end of the year, you've done 80% of the Bible. And I had a group started for older people, and then I tried to get a young adults group started, and I went to one woman and said, I'd like you to join this Bible study. It's a big commitment, but it'll change your life. And she said, well, you get paid to read the Bible, which is true. I do, actually. And I said, well, what do you want me to do that I don't get paid for that would be equally as challenging? And she said, run the Boston Marathon.
Ah, okay.
And I said, okay. So it wasn't that I wanted to. I just wanted to fill up my disciple Bible study class. And
Okay.
But, why not? And so the first time I ran it, I think I was beat out by many 80 and 90-year-olds. It was slow going.
Uh-huh.
I did it in about 5 hours. It was ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
But then the next year I did it because I wanted to the next year, and I knew I could finish.
Okay.
And I shaved at least an hour off that second
Well
time.
done. That's great.
Just because the first time you're thinking, well, what if I fail? What if you're watching people drop out on the side of the road, and then you can do it, and it gives you such confidence that you didn't muster before.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not running as much anymore. I'm older, but it is a great experience, and Boston is a wonderful place to do it.
That's so great.
Because the crowds are so supportive.
Yeah. Well, that's really impressive. I had to spend a little time on that.
Thank you.
Well, in any case, it has been such a pleasure to speak with you, Reverend Faith Fowler. I can't thank you enough for sharing yourself with our Make Meaning podcast and our listeners. And I wonder if before we sign off, you have any last words of wisdom for people who are out there searching for their purpose, looking for meaning in the work that they do?
Yeah, so, no, I just believe in figuring out what your passion is, what your dream is. Hopefully it's ambitious and bigger than your life.
Yeah.
And then to throw yourself into it. It'll give you such joy. Because life is short.
Yeah.
And you want to do something that has meaning, right?
Absolutely. Make the most of it. Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to speak with you, Reverend Faith Fowler, and I hope to be hearing more wonderful things about you in the days to come.
Thank you, Lynn. Have a good day.
You too. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Make Meaning podcast. I'm Lynn Golodner, and I've really enjoyed being here with you today. You can find the Make Meaning podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and I'd love it if you'd share our great conversations with all your people so we can add meaning wherever we go and whatever we do.